The Liberal Vannin candidate is 50-year-old Kat Turner, who was recently voted in as a Douglas Town Councillor. Can I ask you first of all why you're standing in Douglas East and why Liberal Vannin?
Yes, indeed. So why Douglas East? Well, the opportunity to be of service to the people of Douglas has come up at this juncture. I'm well aware that a few eyebrows might be raised at my running for an MHK role so quickly after becoming a town councillor. And that's perfectly understandable. There's absolutely no disrespect intended to my fellow councillors. In fact, what I've seen in the council meeting that I've attended since being elected is a real commitment from people who are not being paid an MHK salary to the people in their wards. So absolute intent to serve their people. And although councillors might disagree with one another on particular issues, I was really, really impressed with that connection to the people who've put them there. That's what I'd like to see in Tynwald, because I don't always see it when I'm hanging out there. So why running for MHK? Because I'd like to find myself in the best position to be of service to the people of Douglas. Why Douglas East? Well, Douglas is at the heart of the Isle of Man. We're blessed with a really fantastic island here, with Douglas at its heart. Douglas East is a very special place. It's where I live and, it's where I work, and I spend a lot of my time socially. I actually live just on the margins of it. And it has some great resources and great amenities, but it also has quite a few rather unloved and unlovely spots as well, which need attention, not just because it makes the island more appealing to the visitor economy, not just for the businesses that are located there, but also as a mark of respect for the people that live there too.
Okay, so and why Liberal Vannin?
Oh, well, Liberal Vannin is the party that stands for transparency and accountability and connection to the people that it serves. And what I'm sensing when I'm going around knocking on doors and talking to people at the moment is that there is a real sense that many in government have lost touch with those people. That there's a disconnection between certain strands of society, and that we need to get back to politics for the people.
Okay, and tell us a bit about your background and what qualifies you to be in the House of Keys.
Okay, well, I've been very fortunate on the Isle of Man to have had 30 years in the financial services sector in various different segments of the industry. At various points I was a policy advisor to the Financial Supervision Commission. My final role in the finance sector was as a business risk director for AXA's offshore companies. I've worked for corporate service providers, I've worked for banking organisations, I've worked for insurance companies. So I've had a really good education in how that part of our economy works. But in latter years, I've spent more time on campaigning on social justice, community building and environmental matters, things that I think really contribute to the welfare and well-being of ordinary people in the Isle of Man, not just those who work in certain business sectors. So I think that experience that I've had, I'm also an author and I've been a lecturer and I serve on various forums and committees. So I've had experience of working with government and with different business and social groupings, and that's taught me an awful lot. I'm really grateful for the breadth of experience that this island's given me. I'd really like to have the chance to use it for the benefit of others. So the island's been kind to me in many ways, and it's at 50 it's about time I put something back.
And on a constituency level, what are people's concerns? You started knocking on doors, what are people telling you?
Certainly they're telling us that they feel there is this disconnect between government and the ordinary people, that we're ending up with something of a two-tier society, with the burdens of austerity falling disproportionately on the vulnerable, on those out of work, on the elderly, and that we need to start listening to what people really think and want, ordinary people really think and want. And to do that and to restore that trust is one way we can actually get people back into the voting booths as well, because when people become cynical and disaffected and weary and they're all corrupt, what are you going to do? You know, that sort of feeling pervades everything. They don't use their vote, because why would they if they don't believe they can change anything? For me, Liberal Vannin is the way that we can actually change this, because with a strong party, with a number of members elected, we can start to really lobby for change. The other thing that they're talking about to me, certainly, is the local environment in various parts of Douglas East. Some of it's lovely. Broadway in particular has been mentioned as being an area that looks dilapidated, isn't great to wake up in when you live there, needs some attention spending on it. So there's been lots of money spent on a regeneration scheme which we hope will really reinvigorate parts of Douglas town.
Are you in favour of the promenade scheme generally?
I'm in favour of regenerating the promenade. My personal feelings, I'm very attached to the horse trams, and I know that there are many who think that they're a luxury whose time has been and gone. For me, they are an iconic signifier of our tourism destination and of our heritage. So regeneration around the struggling edges of Douglas, very important. Another concern that's been mentioned is the length of the time that the Castle Moan has been lying empty and unloved, and I think we really need to take action to seriously get things moving with any expressions of interest that have been made in that regard, because it's an amazing building. Buildings like that need to be used and lived in. They need people inside them or they start to fall apart.
Okay, and on a national level, what are your priorities there?
Certainly the issues of accountability and transparency are very high on my agenda, and the protection of the vulnerable. One of the things I'm really keen that we do is get a definition of fuel poverty sooner rather than later, because there are people out there, and it's not just the people at the bottom of society, it's people in the middle, people who on the face of it look comfortable, who are really struggling. I myself, a few years ago, was in fuel poverty. We spent 3 months in the big snows with no hot water and no money to fill the gas tank, the oil tank. So I know what it's like, and we were lucky enough to come through that in good shape. But not everybody's like that. Not everybody has a good support network.
So protecting the vulnerable then is very important.
It's very important.
How would you do that?
In two ways. I think we need to have a really close look at how we combine our system of taxation, personal taxation, and the welfare system, so that it's simplified and it's fair, and that all those closet taxes, increases in rates for this and that, or losing free access to certain things, don't fall disproportionately on the people who can least afford it. That's really important. But also the way that we look after the vulnerable is by building community, because it's not just up to government to look after us, it's up to us all to look after ourselves. And so I think we need a much greater focus on building facilities that let people have social connections, let people feel connected to the local businesses that they're buying from, and thereby keep their money in the economy. High on my agenda, I'm on the working group for the Manx Credit Union, and I'm very keen that we should get this brought to fruition. We need some changes to legislation, and we need some political will to get this launched. But in times of austerity, when there are many people who are financially disenfranchised, they can't get access to bank accounts, they can't get access to borrowings when they need them, and they can't get guidance on budgeting and prioritising, there's never been a greater need for it. The other great thing that credit unions do is help people start to build themselves a credit rating, which is a life tool for many people. If you don't have a credit rating, you can't get access to mobile phone accounts and all sorts of utilities and all sorts of other things. So we really need that on this island.
And can I ask you, would you be in favour of raising income tax levels now? Is this the time now to do that, to bring in some income?
For me, I'd like to see a more progressive level of taxation. So I'd like to see potentially a burden of income tax that falls not so disproportionately on those at the lower end, and potentially raising the tax cap so that more people pay more tax at the end that can afford it. So I do think there is an opportunity there.
Okay. And is there anything else that you would wish to...
Yeah, I think one of the things that has been, one of the catchphrases that's been bandied around a great deal lately is smaller government and putting things out into big society. That's been across the water and over here. And that issue of community building is really important, but so are all the aspects of what some people call well-being. So it's a bit of a flabby phrase, gets misused here and there. But well-being means all those things that make our lives livable and enjoyable. So not just 4% GDP growth. 4% GDP growth, or whatever it might be at the given time you're measuring, is worth nothing if it masks rising inequality, rising insecurity, people juggling a number of jobs to try and get through the day, a degrading environment so that in the end our NHS will have to pick up more people with diseases like asthma and diabetes and the like, greater health problems, greater mental health problems, which are also creating other tensions within the community and within policing. So we need to do things that help people take charge of their own health and well-being.